Hi, I'm Richie Mackay.
And I'm Daily Bolt, and you are listening to the Wrong Bias podcast.
And on today's show, we have our second part of the forum podcast that we did. The first one's gone down really, really well. Continue a little bit more on the Potters theme that we talked about with regards to the setup of Potters. We also talk about the impending situation that we're going to have after COVID with regards to will people return back to the sport, which is going to be a really, really key thing. It's not just going to be about trying to get new members, it's going to be getting your old members and your existing ones to return. We talk a little bit about live streaming on the board screen and a few more bits and pieces. We'll have a little bit of a recap of the year, and we've got our favourite little bit of, certainly Richie's favourite little bit. He does everything he can to make me make mistakes, but he's got his bloopers to go in for the year. And we'll have our usual competition, sponsored by Alex Marshall Sports, of which we are very thankful, and he's supported us since day one.
Right, mate, here we are, show number 26, our Boxing Day special. Just seems like 12 months ago since we were in the same situation. Obviously, our circumstances are, shall we say, different.
Just a touch. Probably managed to squeeze in about 2.5, 3 months worth of balls in that year, haven't we?
I think we probably have, yeah. I mean, I've managed to play one game since March. You actually did, canny, because did you not knock off one of the Hartlepool singles?
I've got a 100% record for the year. I don't want to brag about it, but I'll just say it again. I've got a 100% record for the year. I've entered 2 competitions, South Shields pairs competition, which I won with Mr. Farquhar, and then I entered the Hartlepool singles competition. And they always say cream comes to the top, mate, but that's all I'm going to say.
Exactly, mate. Nothing wrong with 2020 in your eyes. Nothing wrong with it, mate.
I was talking to Alex about it the other day, and we both sort of said it's amazing how I hadn't picked a ball up for quite a period of time in between those competitions, and I got there and took a couple of ends, but I think you put a little bit more concentration into it and focus a little bit more, and think maybe a little bit hungrier because you haven't had a game for a while as well. And Alex was talking and saying he'd been up having a bit of practice in preparation for the Worlds, and he was worried because he hadn't picked a ball up since I think February, I think he said.
Right.
But he said got on the green and he was stroking them away really nice. So if his words are coming to fruition, get on him, whatever price he is at Potters.
Alex Marshall, tip of the year. The true effect of COVID on the sport, especially the outdoor game, mate, has probably been come to fruition this last week or so when Bowls England have announced a £600,000 loss.
I must admit, I was a bit of a shock with that one. Obviously, working in the sport, I wasn't aware of the size. We always knew there was going to be implications, but when you think of all those affiliation fees and loss of income and everything else that goes with it, and obviously still paying staff, etc. So it was always going to happen. You know, reading along the lines of Bowls England's post, they're very confident that they're going to come back stronger, hopefully next year, all being well. Yeah. And I did see, I think they were advertising 3 or 4 positions as well.
Mate, yes, yeah.
I don't think you would be advertising for 3 or 4 positions if there was major worries there. Yeah. EIBA side of things, I'm not 100% sure, but they've always been down the tightrope as far as finances is concerned. So I've got no doubt they'll have had a really, really big hit. So time will tell with that one, and fingers crossed. And I really hope everything is okay that side, because regardless of the game of balls, we forget there's people employed within the AIBA, etc. as well, and people have got livelihoods. So hopefully we'll keep seeing it. We'll get back to some sort of normality next year, and we can recoup some of those losses, and people come back and support the sport.
Part of the breakdown of the 600,000 is actually, like you said, the return of the club affiliation income, which actually knocked out at $500,000. And that just shows, when we keep banging on about clubs twisting about having to pay an affiliation fee to the sport, how much that affiliation fee actually keeps the sport going, mate, doesn't it?
And it's not, in the big scheme of things, it ain't a lot of money.
No.
£500,000 for a national sport is not a lot of money. So, people can bang on about it all they want, but at the end of the day, it's much needed. And I've been lucky enough to be part of a forum through Bowls England recently as well, where there've been a lot of chat about the upcoming, future years of national championships and what do we want to see, what do we want to, what would we prefer to see down at those national championships? And there's a lot of work going on, a real lot of work going on under the new CEO. It's nice to sort of be a little part of that. So yeah, the future hopefully is bright as long as we can all get back on the greens.
Yeah, and I think we do have to sing the praises of all the national governing bodies in the way that they've kept the clubs informed, the bowlers informed, up to date, get the information out. They are criticised quite easily, quite easy targets at times, but I think over the last nine months or so, I think they've stepped up to the plate, and every one of them deserves a pat on the back.
I think potentially they've answered the critics as to why they're there and why they need what they ask for. Yeah. Plain and simply, you kind of do it with buttons, can you? So
it goes back to the old, what have the Romans ever done for us, mate? And we now do know what the Romans do for us.
Definitely.
Kick off part 2 of our open forum with a little bit chat about potters.
You have a look at potters, it's the biggest competition you got promoting the game over there. The crowd is quiet as. The noisiest part of the game is when someone coughs and then the player stops for a cough. It's so annoying. I mean, you got to add a bit of sound to it, add some colour. Alex Marshall, when Alex was playing the UBC, I'm on the sideline going like this. Every time he's about the bowl, I'm on the sideline putting the hand up and down, bowing to him, and he loves it,
One thing that's really strange when you, and we said this as well, when you watch Alex over in the UBC, not a thing phases him. When he's over at Potters, the slightest sound phases Alex, and he'd be the first to admit that. But it's purely because at the end of the day, you could hear a mouse fart at Potters, and it sounds like an elephant walking in the room.
Because I got the Mexican wave going. We had the wave going.
Yeah, it is. You need atmosphere. You need people there. And Lauren, you've been a supporter of Gary and come to a lot of games for loads and loads of years. Do you watch Potters at all on a yearly basis? Do you watch any of the games?
Yeah, I do. Obviously, Gary has it on, but sometimes even at work, I just put it on just to see what's happening. But it's just not the same atmosphere, though, is it?
Would you put yourself away to go and watch any bowls at Potters whatsoever? You would have to sit there and basically not move and not speak for about 2 hours of a game. Could you accept that?
I couldn't do that. No.
And this is not what the sport's about. And that Alex is the perfect example of that. What I've just said. Alex does not notice any noise whatsoever when there is atmosphere and there's, you see two totally different characters. Alex is up the green. He's high-fiving everybody. He's up in the crowd. When have you ever seen that at Potters? Never.
And until you get that at Potters, I don't think you're going to attract the sponsors, which is then going to attract more people to watching it.
Well, imagine that shot with the crowd going crazy. That bowl, big bowl, crowd's going crazy, and you got a huge crowd there and they're all asleep.
Yeah, I mean, the meme with it when it was on the pub TV and then the whole pub erupt, that's the atmosphere you want Potters or at any championship that's been shown.
But is it not the fact that most of the games are played during the day? That's the audience you're going to get at Potters, because that's the people who stay at Potters. Like so the Australian events, well, they're on a night, they're all had a few cans, they're all up in the air. Potters, they've had a couple of Horlicks and they were keeping the chairs.
That's it. Get it in the evening, get people there, having a few drinks, They finish work at 5, they turn up, they have a few drinks and enjoy the atmosphere,
I think, unfortunately, again, the venue itself, whilst it's fantastic and whatever, it's just where it's located is just not good for anybody to try and get there. I only live about 100 miles away from it, but it's 2.5 hours to get there. You're not going to go there to go and watch. You're not going to anyone, and the local bowlers are all older. Simple as. So you have got to put it into a venue a bit more central. I'd even say move it around. It's a world championship, so there should be maybe even every 3 or 4 years it stays in one venue and it moves somewhere else, but it should be shared around.
Correct us if I'm wrong, Boyd. Just quickly, I would say that Potters probably gets twice as many supporters at its event as what you do at the UBC. Would I be right in saying that? I don't think the UBC is completely packed out, is it? It won't have I'm sure it's about 800 people you can fit into Potters. Is that right, Dom?
I think it's a bit more than that. It's about 1,200, isn't it? I think
so. I would put my hand up and say, I don't think Australia get those attendances. However, you would think they did by the noise and the atmosphere that's there. So if you move that away from Potters, and the only reason, a lot of the reason it's there is because of the lack of thought and a lack of business sense by who's been running for so long, that Potters are the only ones who are putting the money in. So you can never ever take that away from them. And as long as you can put 1,200 people in there, that's great, because that's where it is. But I just think if you were to move it central in the country, and it's not so much where you put it, it's what you provide as a package for people to actually go and watch it. So regardless if you only get 200 people turn up, but the atmosphere is great, there's drink, there's music going on, that looks a better spectacle than what it currently does at Potters at the moment, in my opinion.
Well, then again, Dave, it looks, when you see Potters on, when you see, especially going into the latter stage of the tournament, it is better to see a match at Potters with a full crowd than it is to see a semi-final of the Scottish Open where there's one man and his dog there. Because, when they've had the tournaments at Blackpool and at Perth, literally, you look at all the opening matches, there's literally one man and his dog there, and they can't seem to attract people through the gates, like a turnstile sort of thing, to come and watch. Whereas at least Potters, you're going to definitely have a crowd there. Yeah, I know it's an aging demographic, but that's because it's the time of year it is, the time of day the matches are on. You're going to get retired people mainly, because if they have the free time, they're off, they've got no worries, no working and things like this. So at least you're guaranteed a crowd. Some days it's better than others. The early games you might not get many, but at least, for the last week or so, you're going to get full houses nearly all the time in the afternoon matches, which looks a lot better than it does with 10 people sat watching the quarter-final of the Scottish. So on that respect, yeah, it is better. But if they can take it somewhere else where you can get a guaranteed crowd, it's good. But I know someone mentioned about taking the World Championship away from the event somewhere else. But look at your example of snooker. Snooker's always been at the Crucible. It's always packed out there. So they don't feel the need to move it around venues. They've got the World Championship is the Crucible. It's a bit like the Wimbledon. The World Championship is Potters. But it's just like, and the BBC love zooming into the old granny who's asleep on the front row, or the lady on the back row who's doing a bit of knitting. Try and focus in on some young lad who's there, or some young girl who's there with her dad and watching. But the BBC don't help matters by always pinpointing the lady who's asleep who's 90. But then again, at least you've got a crowd there, which you don't at the other tournaments.
Is that the BBC's fault, or is that the WBT for not getting the BBC in the room and saying, for God's sake, will you stop focusing on those people and try and maybe find a patch of crowd who are actually enjoying themselves, got a smile on their face? That's one thing Australia tend to do very well. The crowds might not be packed, but every time you see the crowds in Australia, the dancing, the jumping, the Sweet Caroline, all of that, and it looks like there's a great atmosphere. So that's TV's got a big part to play in that as well. There's ways and means of being able to control that. I just think the whole package that comes at Potter, like I said, and I've stood by what I've said for many podcasts. It's fantastic that we're 1,200 people in there. It's great for the sport, but there needs to be a discussion had with those people who are going in there. Half of them will go out and go and sit in the theatre in Potters and go and watch a live music thing on the stage, yet they're happy to go and sit in a morgue basically and say nothing for 2.5 hours. There must be 60-70% of that crowd would not be objective to having a little bit of music and a bit of atmosphere in there, surely.
Yeah, well, you thought so, yeah.
Is it not just the what we call it in Scotland, the I been mentality? It's just always been that way, from club level right through to the level that you guys are talking about. People are scared to move on their seats. People are scared to kind of enjoy themselves in case players, they're about to throw their ball and they get up. And, I've done it myself. But when you go to nationals and there's beer tents and there's hundreds of people at national, it doesn't put you off there. It's just because you go expecting silence and you go expecting everyone to be still. And, I think that's just that it's always been that way. And we need to, I'm on all the Australian bowls clubs from, I'm not even looking at the big championships. I'm looking at all the clubs, and they're just so ahead of us on every single level. Do you know that from the small live streams, you see people, playing and enjoying themselves all the time. And I'm always trying to pinch ideas from the Australian clubs to try and bring them to our club to try and, put a bit of colour into a bit of a variety. But it's got to start at every level and not just at the Worlds. It's got to start at grassroots as well, I think.
Do you not think over here we're just very reserved, very top upper lip type thing, very shy and what have you? I don't know. The Australians are all appear to be all outgoing, and we sort of.
Do you know what? At our club, we've got a few young lads. I'm talking young, their 20s, 30s, and they're like, would it not be great for our league match to come out on a Friday night and a bit of music blaring on the speakers? And you know what? We would get absolutely chastised for that. Everybody would just look, oh, it's them, look at them doing this, oh, they're this, they're that. They might be secretly saying, this is great, and actually, if nobody else complains, we might do it. But, to be the first, you've got to take that step out to attract young people. And we've got a lovely decking area. People are out there, they'd like a bit of music and just to sit and have a beer while they're watching the league game. But they're just scared to move and scared to do anything.
Can't even have a roll up without a shirt that needs a collar on it. Until these things change, and unfortunately, that's the demographic and the age demographic of those people that are currently in charge of most clubs. And you talk about go back to Potters. As soon as you walk into the venue, there you've got the guys in the blue blazers telling you shh, and you can only go to your seat when you can, when you're told to. I mean, it starts from all of that. And if you heard music as soon as you walked in there, and it's a different thing. But it won't change, unfortunately, until that generation unfortunately dies out of the sport. And where the sport will be in that time, who knows?
I mean, there was outrage when we invented the high five.
I don't know if you've ever tried to walk up them stairs at Potters as well, but it is absolutely impossible to keep quiet walking up them stairs at Potters. They've got to be the noisiest possible steps you could ever have in any sort of sporting venue. It's like every other step is a creak and a moan, and it's honestly, you've got to float up the stairs, never mind walk up.
And now, the $1 million question. Do you think all this time away from the sport that people will come back and play as much as they used to, or have they found other things to do now?
A lot of people I've spoke to have said they've not missed bowls and they're quite happy doing what they are doing now. It may be different once everything's back, if it ever gets back normal.
There's a fantastic opportunity to get people into the sport because people will be craving activity outside of the home because they've been stuck in for so long. But the biggest challenge, I think, is going to be getting your existing members back to your clubs, because I think it is going to be an absolute nightmare to get some of those bread and butter bowlers, what I call them, the ones that fill your leagues, the ones that play for your teams. I think it's going to be really, really hard to get 25-30% of those people back to clubs.
Well, I think you've got to look at sort of the average age. I mean, and I look at my club, and I mean, I'm 40s and I'm the youngest person in the club. And, you look at a lot of the membership and they're all sort of 70, 75, 80. And you're going, they've done potentially no exercise for a year because bowls was their exercise. And so in terms of health and things, they've deteriorated. So they're not potentially going to come back. And then you've got those that perhaps, as you say, have found other interests at home. All of a sudden they're happier sat watching Netflix or whatever. So it is going to be harder. I think there is going to be a drop-off on people there. But as you say, it's also a good opportunity to go, you've all been stuck indoors for so long, come out. This is something you can do during the summer. And I was talking yesterday, I was out for a run and I bumped into an old school friend who's a deputy head at a local school. And, and he said it'd be great to get sort of pupils from his school to come down and have a try, and sort of the local scout group as well. And that's where we've got to go to try and get these people in. And then, you attract one person in the family, you can perhaps attract dad and something else and get people in. It's got to come, and it's, without traveling back to the previous conversation, I think the excitement that bowls can generate has to be shown at that top level.
If only we had a major tournament coming up shortly that could have done that, James.
Exactly. Yeah, without going back to that discussion we've just had for the last hour. But, that is the showcase to get people into bowls.
I can tell you the future. We're going back into bowls. We're started over here in Australia. you find a lot of the older blokes that played, they just can't be bothered now coming back. You'll find a lot of them just, lose that interest. And you also get with the other ones that realise that how much time bowls takes up. I mean, we play every day of the week.
Have you lost many bowlers since COVID?
I reckon we have. We've lost quite a few. And people just realise that, I haven't bowled, we've had bowls back and they just realise how much time they spend at bowls. They're getting that time back at home and think, I won't play it, I won't play it. Put it off, or someone just, no, I'm not coming back, especially the older crew.
Ed, you'll be kicking your heels after getting in the elite squad and then the outdoor scene getting knocked on the head.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if you know, but I manage our club, basically. As a paid member of staff, so fortunately I was sort of here to make sure something happened at least during the summer. So we actually put on loads of singles and a couple of pairs and things like that. So it wasn't too bad from a local point of view. Obviously, County Upwards got completely knocked in the head, so that was disappointing. But we got something out of it at least. And we got plenty of people join and not play, which was nice to see. People still supporting our club, which I hope and presume that's happening nationwide, where some people are just going to continue their membership until they're in a position to play. But yeah, like everyone else, I'm a bit concerned that we are just going to 10, 15, 20%, I don't know how much, but of people who just won't come back to the sport. So we've got to make a big effort to replace that. And I think we'll be okay here because we've got, not because it's me, but we've got someone paid to do that work. Whereas clubs, unless they've got someone who's absolutely passionate about their club, and, some people have clubs like that, fortunately, but there'll be some clubs that just wither and die, unfortunately. And that is not good for the game in general, even a local club. If they gain those members who were left, they might think, oh, that's good for our club, but it's just not good for their club at all in the long run. So that's the worry. We've got loads and loads of small clubs in Southend.
Do you not think there could be an overriding sort of positive effect of that though, Ed? I know you're saying that, some of the smaller clubs might go, but we've talked similar about this in the past as well, about will it not potentially strengthen things to have a smaller amount of clubs with bigger membership? I
think perhaps in our area, maybe, because, we've got like 20, 25 clubs just within a 5-10 mile radius of where I am. Like, we've got so many clubs, but when there's a fewer dispersion of clubs in an area, then obviously that's going to have a bit more of a major effect on, someone's going to have to travel 10 or 15 miles to play instead of 2 or 3, then they're going to perhaps say, well, it's just, that's the end of it for them. They're not going to be bothered. And whereas if you have to travel 2 miles instead of 1 mile, then obviously it's not so bad. But so I think, obviously, just speaking from our area's point of view, I think we're going to be okay. We're going to lose some clubs that were, quite frankly, they were struggling before COVID ever came along. I think if a club was quite solid and strong before COVID, I would imagine they're still going to, carry on. I don't know what it's like around the rest of the country, but we found in the last few years, the councils have really sort of been not putting the input and the effort and the expense into their clubs. And that's had, an effect every year. The greens get worse, the membership goes down, on and on in that sort of, cycle. So I think the private clubs near here are going to be fine. They just need to put the effort in, like every club does and like every member does, just to make sure that the sport survives and stays strong.
Yeah, everybody. Sorry, Bruce, go on after you.
Sorry, I was just going to say, as far as our club with the outdoor, I think it is important to have a strategy. You have to. We're a small club in comparison to a lot of your clubs. I would say we had just about 50 members last year. We've done a promotion this year during the COVID period for next year. With half price memberships, £40, and with that we've changed into coloured tops. And we're giving each new member and our existing members a free top for next year. So by the time they've paid their £40 and they get their free top, they're just about joining for about £10. We've had about 16 people putting in membership forms, which is great for us. Hopefully that alleviates any of the loss. Although we've not heard of anybody that's leaving our club, but we've certainly seen it as an opportunity to engage a lot more of the community. We are planning on leaflet drops. We just had, our Christmas lights went on tonight, and that's the first time we've really been engaged with the whole of our community, and it was great. And I think that's the thing. It's schools, it's the local community, it's that sense of, togetherness. We're quite a small village, so we need to bring in people from all over and outside the village. So I think you've got to have a strategy, and you've got to have, although we're all volunteers, you've got to have a strong committee that's willing to put in a lot of hours, I think, to reach out to people.
Why don't you target the ex-footballers, the ones that can't play football or soccer or netball? Soccer, that's football, isn't it? But why don't you target the ones that can't actually play anymore, who are getting to the point of that they want to continue competitive sport, but they can't participate. You've got to bring them over and say, we've got this game. It's all the excitement and adrenaline as football without the injuries, and anyone can play.
This is the trouble. Though, Boyd. You hit the nail on the head. You're looking from over in Australia, and you can see from over there that we are still stuck back 20 years and still going through tradition, etc. And unfortunately, we've said for years that a lot of those who were 30 to 40 coming out of a sport still want to be competitive. Perfect audience to try and attract into our sport.
Absolutely.
But even at 30 to 40, you'll hear some of them turn around and say, I might pop back again in 20 years when I'll fit in. And it's the perception over in the UK of our sport that's killing us. And it always has done. And that's where, we need to try and change it. And it is changing slowly, but there is so much more that needs to be done. And until that happens, you're not going to attract those other sports people. They will, I just think they'll go elsewhere.
Live streaming? What next? Liquid chalk?
Do you have live stream? Is any of your clubs streaming their games? When you play, do you have anyone from your local club streaming?
We haven't even got Wi-Fi over here.
Probably banned Boyd from having your phone on the green for a start.
Yeah, not to your level, Boyd. You got an odd Facebook Live, but that's about it.
You just need someone to get some balls and just get the phone out and go, I'm going to stream this game, and even if it is walking up and down the green. Yeah,
no, you'd be putting them off, Boyd. You'd be told to sit down because you're putting us off. You're catching me eye. Sit down.
Yeah, something like that. But someone's just got to do it. You've got to do it.
Yeah. We are trying something at our indoor club, Boyd, where we've set up a YouTube channel, and we are hoping to stream some games live. But again, it's like something like that is like we promoted it on Facebook, and you see so many clubs saying fantastic idea, great idea, but it's still like it's like a new thing that we've just invented to a lot of clubs. It's like you change your club colours, and we put a Viper on and call ourselves the Vipers. And you'd think we'd rejig the whole constitution of Bulls. It's like it's just shock that goes through the UK system that we've dared to call ourselves something other than the club name. So it's really, really tough, and it's hard from that point of view. But it is slowly changing.
Get me my solicitor.
Hey, Richie, I've got to ask you a big question.
Leonelli.
When are we getting the phone ringtone, mate, for the opening?
The phone ringtone.
Yeah, the opening soundtrack of your podcast. When's that a phone ringtone?
I'm trying to keep the opening. I'm trying to keep the theme tune under wrap in case the fella who wrote it comes for rights off us. We didn't want to go global, mate.
I think you're probably the only one who likes that tune, Boy. To be fair,
I love that tune. Love a bit tune, a bit tinky winky tinky.
That'd be great for her.
You've got to go for ouch. That's free. Out, that's free. You've got to get. I mean, I got away with using the Benny Hill sketch for about 30 seconds. And you can stop that.
Just while I'm thinking, anybody else had any thoughts about returning to Bulls? And I'll hold my hand up straight away and say I've already said I will not be playing anywhere near as much as what I used to because of that fact of what we've talked about. I've found another sport which I'm loving at the moment,
and it's not snooker.
Not snooker. I've found other things to do, and again, probably realised that put so much time into the sport for the last 32 years that there's more to life than chasing little bits of metal, which is pretty much the best of what you'll get out of this sport as it currently is in the UK. You're not going to make a living from it. You're not going to be retiring anytime soon. So, you know, me personally, I've had those thoughts. Is anybody else sort of, are we all looking forward to getting back, or what's the general opinion?
Last year, during the summer, we really made the most of it at our club, and one thing it did do, and why I think all of our members are looking forward to next year, is we had a lot more social distance gathering with, I would say what used to be the old cliques. You know, you're the guys that play in the friendlies, and you're the guys that play in the league, and you're the guys that play on a Wednesday, and we play on a Friday. But the competitions that we did do just brought everybody together, and there was, you know, it was a really good. Actually, it was a bit of a blessing in disguise for us, you know, and for being a small club, the funding and everything that's been available through the Scottish government has kept us, you know, afloat, and we're actually looking forward to next year. So, not all the doom and gloom.
Well, I mean, obviously I love the sport, and it's my job at the end of the day. So I will always be involved in the sport. I'm not saying I've fallen out of love with the sport in any shape or form. Just my priorities of the competitive side of the game have probably changed, where I would be outdoors potentially playing 5-6 times a week. And I'm going to drop down to Lauren again here. Lauren, how have you found this period of time over the last 7-8 months where you've actually seen your husband for a sustained period of time? You know, we'll forget about our wives and partners, etc., etc. We go out and play bowls a lot. How have you found the COVID period where you've been able to see Gary a lot?
Yeah, it's been all right. Just, you know what, I'm getting that into bowls. I actually miss it, so I can't actually wait for it to go back to then see other people. Do you know what I mean? But spending time with Gary, it's been a bit of a luxury, but because obviously you don't get that time usually, do you? So
are you at the point that you're ready to kick him out yet?
Not yet, no. He's
Well,
playing golf.
I can't wait to get out, me. Didn't tell the wife though, she doesn't listen to this. I bet you the divorce rate in bowls has gone up over these last 12 months. God, get out. Are you not going out yet?
How have you managed to keep yourself obviously in shape? I mean, we talk about the older generation coming back to the sport. I've said for years, over the Christmas period where we finish on the 22nd or something and don't come back to bowls until maybe the 5th of January, you'd think you hadn't picked a ball up for 16 weeks. You know, you lose that little bit of control and muscle mass, whatever it is, put a bit of weight on over Christmas.
No.
Of which I've put about 16 stone on over COVID. How are you preparing and keeping yourself right for what's going to be a really, really, you know, tough and busy time for you when you do return?
Well, me personally, it was almost like a kick up the bum that I needed, really, because during the first lockdown, my coping mechanism was drinking and eating. I'm going to be honest, I couldn't stop. I'm a bit of weight, let's be honest. And then when we got involved with the elite squad, by no means did they say, "Oh, you have to lose weight." Don't get me wrong, but it was just a little bit of a reason to, you know, take a bit more care of myself and everything like that. So that's going quite well from that point of view. But yeah, we've been trying to fix updates to get on the green and things like that, and they just keep getting ruined at the moment. So we can probably more or less forget about that for a few months yet, I imagine. But yeah, I think once outdoors comes around, from a fitness point of view, I've got no issues, and I think everyone will be just really happy to be back out there. And I think it's just everything's just a bit easier outdoors from a COVID point of view. So as sad as it is, I think this indoor season's almost written off again. And then, yeah, I'm personally obviously looking forward to getting back playing a lot more. The summer just gone, did end up playing a lot, and like Bruce said, it was in some ways it was one of the best seasons this club in some respects. The people who did play had a great time, so we made the best out of a bad situation. At the end of the day, the club isn't any weaker from that point of view, but yeah, we're just all craving a bit of normality, aren't we? And I don't know, I have no idea whatsoever about individual members, whether they're going to come back, whether they're going to play as much as they used to, like you, David, and who knows, we'll find out. But I know obviously personally a lot of friends here who are really desperate to get back out there. So we're looking forward to it.
From a personal point of view, I had 23 years not playing in between years. So actually just missing another year is not much of a difference for me. Because I stopped when I went to university, sort of age 18, pretty much stopped then, and I only picked up again when I moved back to Cornwall 4 years ago. So this would have been my fourth season we've just had. So actually having a year off doesn't mean that much.
Who tackled the Scottish club earlier on? Who was it?
Auchinleck, was it?
That's it. It was Craig. I tried to do that one in one of them. Like just Auchin Watlock.
You're good with your...
That's So that's me not invited to Scotland anymore. I'm out of Wales. I'm out of Scotland.
You're a popular man. Bid you all good night, and thanks again for taking part. Much appreciated.
Thanks everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Cheers, guys.
Right, mate. As this is our final show of the dreaded 2020, I thought it would just be nice to pick a highlight of the year from each of us. What was your highlight, mate?
My highlight has probably got to be, for all it's been a nightmare, I think, is the clubs really getting their hands dirty and putting the guidelines that needed to be put in place. You know, those clubs that have opened to give people the opportunity to get out onto the greens, regardless of whether that's been indoors or outdoors. Massive amount of work's gone in by committees, by club centre managers, management committees, whatever that may be, to actually make sure that people are safe when they have been able to return back in. So I think that's certainly a highlight. You know, a lot of you know, committee members, etc., get overlooked sometimes, and I think a lot of members out there really need to be thankful that they've got the committees in place, people who are willing to put their own time in and do what's required. And hopefully when it comes around to it, when we get back, they will all be out there in force and back on the clubs and getting out there and helping us get back onto our feet. So definitely a highlight for me has been the sort of camaraderie and making sure that the members are okay and picking the phone up and et cetera, et cetera.
And at the end of the day, we're all volunteers, mate. And we all play the sport. We all love the sport. I think everybody's done a tremendous job. My highlight, well, from the show point of view, we've managed to knock out 20 shows in the year, which is, I think we've done really well to get 20 out. The last few months have been like pulling teeth, but there's only so much times we can sit and have a chat to each other, mate. Figures wise, we've hit 12,000 downloads, which is tremendous. So it shows that people do listen to it. The last show, the open house one, and obviously that continued on to it just seems to show that people actually do have the same opinions of what we put over. We're not preaching anything. It's people have the same opinions, so we're not being controversial. We're just raising subjects that people probably cannot raise.
And I think it's potentially a really good thing because, you know, I think it needs to be heard. It needs to be heard from all levels of the sport, and hopefully people take notice, because at the end of the day, that's the bread and butter. Those are the people who back the sport and are there turning up week in, week out. So I'm sure there's plenty of disagreements. Like I said, people might get sick of me twisting and moaning on about certain things, but again, it is only opinion. But I think the nice thing as well on top of that, Richie, is there's been a really solid core of listeners for us, which is, you know, there's been nothing really to listen to for the last 4 months with regards to results and things that's happening in the world of bowls. So understandably, the numbers have sort of dropped down because, you know, at the end of the day, it's people want to hear about things that's happening in bowls, not just certain discussions and certain topics, etc. So yeah, it's been nice that people have still continued to download and listen, and it's really appreciated.
Probably my own personal highlight would be probably again way back in January, mate, when Nicky Brett played that absolute worldie of a bowl at the World Indoor Championships. The fact that people made a gif of the Wetherspoons pub where the pub went up when the ball came in, I can still smile at it, and I can visualize it. the fact it got the ball itself got 20 million views on YouTube and what have you. It got over to the States. All right, they did focus on the little old Ganny in the crowd. We hit the headlines, everything. That we were all in dreamland, mate.
Yeah, and you know what it is. And I've always said this, and I'm always positive on this side of things. People write the sport off and say the sport's dying. I completely and utterly disagree. We're just in a different era, and it would have been nice just to see what the potential follow-on or follow-up of that would have been running into the indoor season. Because I genuinely believe that things like that, tiny little things like that, just might chip away to the perception of the
light
sport.
Something, mate. Might just light something.
You know, people have seen that, and regardless of what you think about balls, everybody will have had a laugh at that, and everybody will have, but that takes nothing away from the ball itself. And there must have been a small percentage of people looking at that and thinking, I wonder what that would be like to try.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, COVID came along and sort of quashed any sort of backup or follow up we could have had from that particular thing. But I still firmly believe that there's a huge market out there for the sport. I still think that perception will start to gradually die the more that, you know, things are changing within the sport.
Yeah.
Social media reporting, you know, there's some great clubs out there doing amazing jobs of putting really positive stuff about the sport out there. So I don't buy into this whole thing about the sports dying at all. I just think we need to target our audience and just keep a solid number in the sport and keep improving. And keep making it more accessible for everybody.
And of course, every silver cloud, you sort of like say, you see the ball. I think when we interviewed Nicky, I made the bold statement of that. Well, that'll get you on Sports Personality of the Year, son. After watching Sports Personality of the Year on Sunday, mate, why I was not surprised. I thought we did well to get in the obituaries with obviously losing David Bryant, the biggest name in the sport. But when you think one of the very few sports that have held a world championships is covered by the BBC, and that world champion never got a mention. No. The sport never got a mention. The ball never got a mention. You know what it is? We tend to criticise sort of like the World Balls Tour sometimes about not moving the sport forward. But if they're having to work with the likes of the BBC, whose mentality is, we've got your World Indoor Championships, but we're not going to push it. We'll not mention it at the biggest sport and personality thing of the year. Not a mention. I mean, we did have Scott Morland in the crowd. I don't know whether you're saying that. Scott got an invite into the crowd. I mean,
we all know why, don't we? There's one simple sound that doesn't resonate with balls, and that's ka-ching, 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 because that's, you know, when it comes down to it, the BBC will always be about money, because all they're interested in is making sure they've got enough money to provide the high profile sports stars with the jobs. And, you know, when they're so quick to jump all over, what is it, over 70s having to pay a TV license now, if they're that quick to do something like that, then I'm sorry, but Balls has got no chance of getting any place on there. They're only interested in their own self-promotion, so it doesn't shock us. It never has.
But I bet you if there was a wifey got her kit off and ran up and down the green, that'll be it in Sports Personality, all right.
I might do it next year,
Hey, you heard it first here.
That would be a sight to behold.
I think you would get a letter then, mate. Mightn't be off any sporting authority.
I reckon I would definitely top Nicky's 20 million.
Oh, I think the YouTube, there'd be grifts all over, mate. The Weatherspoons.
There'd be multi-gifts. I'd be in zoos, I'd be in buffets, I'd be in all kinds.
Weatherspoons would be empty. There'd be nobody there. No, I was disappointed that the sport never got it, but I wasn't surprised.
No, I haven't watched it for a lot of years. It's all, no offense, but you know, we pretty much knew who was going to win it before it even started. And you look at the short list, and there's a couple of what our classes as token sort of gestures.
Crowd fillers, mate.
Holly Doyle, in my opinion, has been absolutely fantastic. She's done wonders for the sport. You know, we've had Rishi Prasad on our podcast, which is great, who loves his horse racing. The phenomenal effect she's had on horse racing and what she's done for women in that sport. And she's a lovely, lovely girl, lovely personality. She's always got a smile on her face. She's never going to win it. Never going to win it. You know who's going to win it? It's going to be the multimillionaire who presses the start button on his car and lets it steer itself pretty much and gets round the course. And my mate Ronnie summed it up by saying that if I had pockets twice the size on the snooker table and sort of it would make my game a lot easier as well.
Oh, he did. I thought he was spot on. I actually would have liked to seen Ronnie win it, because he came across well in the video, and even Barry Earn gave him a bit praise as well.
He's too controversial, though, isn't he? He is a sports personality. That's the word that you're looking at. Personality. It's not sports performance of the year, not sports performer of the year. It's personality, and it's money, it's politics, it's everything else that's wrong in the world of sport, and that's just the way it is.
Now, it wouldn't be Christmas without good old bloopers.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Unbelievable.
We are the Grim Reapers, mate.
Beat Dorset up. Do.
Right, thanks, Dave. Yeah, the Denny Cup's been taking place this weekend. Locally, the Vipers beat Durham 69. Bloopers. 23 minutes to record an interview and it'll take us 23 minutes to do a 2-minute report. What's the chance of that happening?
Now, in our competition, Alex Marshall kindly donates one prize.
4 prizes on each podcast, and we've got to say huge thanks to Alex Marshall Sports.
And that was the sound of a World Indoor Singles vase hitting the floor in the Marshall household.
We'll also be running our normal Alex Marshall sponsored Alex Marshall Sports. Oh, I've balled that up.
Keep going, I'll put it up.
We all
the blooper as well. Christmas bloopers. Get in, son. You're there.
Now, what can go wrong? 2 lads, a laptop, and 2 mobile phones. Straightforward.
Hello, this is Alistair Hollis.
Fear not. Second time lucky.
Hello, this is Alistair Hollis, Bowls England. Please leave your name and telephone number and I'll get back to you.
Well, everybody said nobody can get hold of anybody at Bowls England.
But even when we get through, things don't go to plan. In this clip, Davey was expecting a Bulgarian voice as we tried to get in touch with George Babeloff.
Hello.
Can you hear him, Davey?
Hello?
Did you catch? Have you caught each other?
Who's that?
Can you hear each other?
Yeah.
Davey, can you hear George?
Is that George on the phone there?
Yeah.
It's Stuart. That's George.
Oh, it's Stuart. Oh, Stuart. Get yourself back to bed, son.
He's rang the wrong person. He's flipping useless, he is.
Get yourself back to bed, son. Get yourself back to bed.
Half an hour.
Ta-ra, bye. Well, there's a blooper if ever I've got one.
During our Christmas show, we got interrupted by Gordon Ramsay.
Would there be any problem if it means you haven't set up again? We can just continue to do it now. I'm on turkey duties. That's gone on a little bit longer than what I thought. So I just need to get the turkey prepped and get the turkey in. Is there any chance?
No, you're all right. I'll take about 10 minutes.
And now for the main course.
Give us about 20 minutes because I've got to stuff it with butter and all of that malarkey. So
you do realise it can go on bloopers this as well.
Alright, stuff it at turkey.
Meanwhile, back at the phone.
plan didn't work at the minute.
Oh dear.
In our interview with Irish legend David Corkill, Boltley was going to do the interview. Well, that's what we thought.
Hello? Hello, David, how are we doing? Richie, you alright? Not too bad at all. Can you hear me okay, David? Yep, I can hear you fine. No problems.
Hold on a minute. Did our Irish legend say Richie? Well, it all came clear 6 minutes into the interview.
Can I just ask you something? Is David Bolt actually on the line as well?
It's actually David that you're talking to, David.
Sorry, Dave. Sorry, I thought that was Richie.
No.
I was going to ask him where his wife was as well.
We're through you in a bit of a curveball, I think.
See, this is where the problem comes. Whenever you've got an accent communication problem. Don't worry about it, Dave. This will only go into our Christmas bloopers.
It's a blooper, Dave. You're in.
And there was pussy galore during an interview with world champion Paul Foster.
But the main thing is, we're still enjoying it.
Definitely. If you give me 2 seconds, I've got a cat meowing. I don't know if you can hear that, Richie.
What's going on here, Paul? Davy Boat's got a cat on his knee.
Cat's trying to get out of the bedroom. It's meowing. That would sound great on the podcast, that will.
Where's he gone? It's like Annika Rice.
And in the words of Catherine Rednall,
how do I get out of this?
Another blooper.
Let's see if I can kick you out.
I'm going.
Keep her on, we'll do when we're opening chat.
She's gone.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, mate, but weren't you best man at carrying Lauren Farquhar's wedding?
Dom Pixley, Lauren Haswell, Ed Morris, Graham McDougall, Happy Bowler Dumbrell, Craig Burgess, Stephen Beamish, James Wombwell and Bruce McCall.
Have you given Lauren a maiden name?
It's all right, mate. I think we'll get away with that one.
If he wasn't 7'5" and 6 foot wide, I would have said I would.
Right, well, just say Lauren Farquhar.
Lauren Farquhar.
That's it. that actually will go in a blooper, the first bit.
I had a feeling that might.
Now, it's not as if the wife would barge in and start a domestic during the recording.
You've had that wrapping paper for 3 years. This wrapping paper, Asda, 36 pence. Special.
I hope this is all going in the podcast.
And you've missed us getting changed.
She's dropped her jeans again, mate.
Oh, I haven't. He turned the camera around.
No, he didn't, because I didn't see it.
You're looking very good.
Looking very good for a 64-year-old. Hey, dinner did a poorly, man. Get out while I finish this off. It's the lad's birthday. You haven't wished him happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I thought that's what you were doing your strip for.
No, Richard didn't get that.
I didn't get that. Milkman, mate, but I didn't.
His name was Ernie, and he drove the fastest milk cart in the West.
Back in the old days, mate, the milkman did. Right, mate, here we go. Let you get your tea.
And finally, just for Jamie Chesney, our classic.
And we've got some information from Wales, from the Valleys, as the Premier League, the Club Championship, has entered round 7. And Cardiff, 7 times defending champions, raced into a 43 points lead at the top of the table after beating Lionelli 16-6.
Lionelli? Is that Lionel and Messi?
Lionelli? That's the way you pronounce it.
Lionelli, man.
It's Lionelli, the way it's written. It's Lionelli. Anyway, moving on. Swansea beat Cannon Valley 18-4 and Port Talbot lost 17-5 at home to Izzywin.
Izzywizzy, let's get busy. You do realise if you ever walk into Wales, they're going to kick you all over.
Luckily for me, Merthyr Tydfil had a bye and Ben Gwent I must apologise to our listeners if we've got any left.
If anybody could just drop us an email and let us know how those pronounced, I will pass it on to Richie for the next podcast.
I apologise.
And it's competition time. And once again, thanks so much to Alex Marshall Sports. And the competition we're going to be playing for, Alex Marshall Sports have kindly put in a fleece jacket, aero fleece jacket. And this can be any colour that's available and any size. So whoever wins will get the size of their choice. We also have a fire stick up for grabs and some of the much sought after Wrong Bias merchandise. So what is the name of the fictional character who was visited by 3 ghosts at Christmas? Sure, there's a few members in every club out there who you think it might be, but I'm sure you'll get the right answer. If you get the answer right, can you please send it to wrong.bias@hotmail.com, either via our podcast page, or you can drop us a message on Twitter or Facebook.
Right, mate, there we go. Show number 26 over and done with. And we say a fond farewell, shall we say, to 2020.
Not so much the fonder.
Do we look forward? Have we got any ambitions or something we hope for in 2021, mate?
The obvious, really, isn't it? We'll get through this as quick as we possibly can, and just that everybody stays safe and well. At the end of the day, that's the biggest thing. The sport. Yeah. The sport will look after itself. We'll come back stronger for it. And yeah, we just got to hope this vaccine rolls out as quickly as possible and we get into some sort of shape for the outdoor season. I think that's we said it last year, but that's, we said, we're right off the outdoor season. We're going to the indoor and we'll be all right. But the outdoors is a real target, but it's still not a definite one. So we've just got to keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a tough year for everybody. We've lost a lot of good people. The sport's lost a lot of good people. We can only hope 2021 is going to be a lot better for everybody.
Absolutely.
On behalf of both of us, just like to thank all our guests that have came on during the year. They came on, gave us the time. They've had a bit crack. They've been great. Really, really has appreciated. We hope you've all enjoyed it. And we wish you a very happy 2021. Stay safe, stay healthy. And we'll be back hopefully in sometime January or February or March or April. But we will be back. We're not going anywhere, mate.
No, definitely not. And it'll just be, we look forward to getting back to the time where we can give some really good info on what's happening in the world of bowls. But I certainly mirror what you say. All the best to everybody. And main thing is stay safe and healthy for the 2021.
Cheers, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the shows.
Thank you for listening and hope you've enjoyed the show.
This has been a Dodgy production.